Mr. Gosar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Schulman, are you familiar with any examples in which confidential information relating to the application for tax-exempt status of groups was leaked to any entity outside of the IRS?
I'm familiar with some press reports and have vague recollection of things happening.
Okay, so we're going to pick up one in just particular. Media reports asserts that Austin Goolsbee, then the President's Chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, disclosed confidential tax information about Koch Industries to reporters on August 27, 2010. Do you have any idea how Mr. Goolsbee obtained that information?
Two things. One is, if I remember from the time, it wasn't confirmed that he had confidential information, and to the extent he did, if that's your premise, I have no idea.
The whole thing is that should have alerted you, because that's something very, very important. It kind of hit the screen and it's a pretty big deal. So did you ask your staff at the IRS how this happened, and did you find out if anyone at the IRS provided Mr. Goolsbee with that information? Because it caused you, I just saw you with your caution, it caused you to think about it, and somebody in your nature should have gone back and asked. Did you ask anybody, yes or no, in the IRS to look into that, how he got that information?
It was several years ago, but my best memory is, and I have a recollection that the Inspector General was actually did an investigation to see if something had happened. But that's my best memory.
At that time?
It's very vague.
Is that true, Mr. George? I didn't think you were, at that time, investigating.
Congressman, this is one of the most frustrating aspects of implementing or overseeing the Internal Revenue Service, and those are some of the restrictions that the tax code places on me and my ability to communicate information to people outside of the Ways and Means Committee.
Okay.
The IRS has strict confidentiality rules, which we actually enforce, and which I'm not allowed to provide.
I appreciate that. I want to keep going here. So Mr. Schulman, how would that information be obtained? I mean, from your understanding of the IRS, you're the head here guy. How would that be obtained? It had to come from a leak, right?
It shouldn't be obtained. Section 6103 prohibits IRS employees from disclosing specific taxpayer information.
You gave me my answer. So, Mr. Schulman, 6 months after Mr. Goolsbee made that public information, you went to the White House and met with him according to the White House records on February 3, 2011. Did you ask Mr. Goolsbee then or at any other time how he obtained that information?
Not to my recollection.
Why not?
Because there's lots of things that happen in the press that involve the IRS. I don't remember that meeting, but I do.
But my understanding is this is a very important piece, particularly as a director, that you should have looked at. Because, by the way, sir, did you take an oath of office?
I did take an oath of office.
Okay. Let's keep going. Are you familiar with the news organization's ProPolitica's publication of pending tax-exempt applications from conservative-leaning organizations?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Are you familiar with those publications? The news?
ProPublica?
Yes.
I'm familiar with the organization ProPublica.
It is my understanding, based on reports from that publication, that your office provided that publication with the applications that were still pending, which were confidential. Is that your understanding?
That my office? I saw news reports of issues around ProPublica that I remember, and I don't remember the time stamp. And again, my best recollection is when those news reports broke, that it was referred to the IG to look at.
So what contributed to the confidential pending applications making it through the internal review process and being provided to the publication?
I don't have any knowledge of the premise that it happened. I saw news reports.
Well, but it should have alerted you, because, I mean, as a head person with these big things happening, you should have followed up. Beauty's in the detail. I've watched you all day. You're really good at certain parts of detail, and then you obscure the rest. I mean, there's a disease going in America. I see it in trials all over the country. We feign because somebody gets in our face that we don't acknowledge something. I want to go further. Are you aware that in July 2012, Senator Harry Reid claimed Mitt Romney hadn't paid taxes for the last 10 years and claimed to have the information supporting that? Are you aware of that? I'm sure you are.
I have a recollection of reading that in the paper.
Do you know how Mr. Reed obtained that information? Did you look into this?
I have no idea how.
Doesn't
he
that
obtained
alarm
it.
you that all of a sudden this pertinent information comes up, you're the head of this agency, and you're not asking questions? Shame on you. Absolutely shame on you. Did you ask for any other leaks of any other information, confidential information on anybody else? I mean, I've just now illustrated you 3 different incidences for private information, and yet you did nothing. So did you, let me ask you again.
If the
Let's go back
gentleman
through
would
this oath.
conclude his questioning.
Yes. Did you faithfully take this oath, and I want to highlight it, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office in which I am about to enter? Did you take that oath?
I took the oath of office.
Thank you. The gentleman has concluded. Mr. Williams.